So, Andy,
Yes.
now that you've seen Apocalypse Now,
Yeah.
what do you think about Ad Astra? In terms of... Because they're basically
Okay.
the same... they're like... I'm not sure if Ad Astra is specifically adapted from Heart of Darkness as well. But they're very, very clear... Like, they've got a lot in common story-wise.
Yeah, what, like drifting further and further away from civilization?
Well, yeah, so, I mean, if we look at it, we've got this main character who's, like, really jaded and, like, kind
Yeah.
of emotionally dead inside to a degree. I mean, he's
Yeah.
given this top secret mission to go and find this like colonel or general kind of guy who's off far into the outer reaches of civilization, and they suspect he's gone mad and maybe killed people of his own nation and stuff. I forgot the word for nation then, but you know what I mean. Like he's killed US people, and they want him taken out because he's a threat. So they send this emotionally sort of dead person out to go find him, and we go through these escalating set pieces of the sort of descent of civilization and the darker side of humanity as he goes further and further away, and in his head is like degrading and degrading until he has this final confrontation and has to decide what to do.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people have commented that Ad Astra is almost like Apocalypse Now in space, and I think that is a valid thing.
Yeah, I can actually see that a lot.
So I was wondering, well, do you think Ad Astra's better, or because
I did enjoy Ad Astra, and I don't know
Yeah.
why it got the shit it got.
I mean, it was definitely flawed, but I think
Yeah,
it is like
no doubt, because there's a lot of fucking silly stuff in there, but I think it is similar, yeah, definitely. But I don't know. There's something weird, like why choose characters who don't show any emotion, but in both cases they sort of go from, being dead inside to going slightly mad, but also still being dead inside.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like their character arc isn't amazing, I don't think.
No.
In both cases. I think Apocalypse Now is definitely a lot more nuanced than Ad Astra. And they don't have the stupid, my heart never goes above 70 beats per second, or whatever. 70 beats per second? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm constantly on the brink of a heart attack. It's no big deal.
Yeah, but...
It was interesting because obviously, Apocalypse Now is this absolute classic that lots of people love.
Yeah.
And so the general consensus is Ad Astra's Apocalypse Now, but slightly worse. So I was wondering, as someone who liked Ad Astra and was sort of lukewarm on Apocalypse Now, if you had a different take on that. Or do you think they're on equal footing, or...
I mean, I think Apocalypse Now is undeniably the better film.
Okay.
But I don't think Ad Astra is amazing.
No.
I just enjoyed it because it's, I like the, the visual effects and the sound editing and the visuals themselves were amazing. Whereas in Apocalypse Now, I don't know, I haven't really warmed to it. I just sort of feel the same. Like I don't really feel much about it. I don't know. It's like it was good, but I think it was just like just sort of ends and that's about it. And whereas Ad Astra should have ended 15 or 20 minutes before it did. Well, before he should have never come home.
Yeah,
but see, that's
exactly.
one thing. I did say I would like to have seen him home, but that's only because I wanted to see if he would, how the madness has affected him back at home. Whereas in Ad Astra, he wasn't ever mad, was he? He was never...
No.
He was just sort of lonely. The madness wasn't the crux of it. Whereas, so he was just sort of like a bit miserable at home, a bit miserable in space, a bit miserable with his dad, and then he's back home and he's still a bit miserable.
See, I think because one of the key differences of Ad Astra is because it's his dad and he has this personal connection to him, unlike Colonel Kurtz, who isn't. What is the sense in Apocalypse Now that, like, through reading about Kurtz, Captain Willard becomes like, it feels like he knows him already, but he isn't actually, like, there's no personal connection already, any relation. Well, I think, so like in Ad Astra, it's not necessarily he's going mad as such, but it's more like he's so overcome with his determined to answer this, like, big dramatic question of his life, that he becomes increasingly more ruthless and sort of callous towards other human life. like in that ship where he just like fucking murders everyone on it because he's so determined to like commandeer it and get to his dad, and like
Oh
he
right,
doesn't have
yeah,
a
yeah.
choice. Yeah, so I think that is one like key difference in the way that plot works. I mean, like, well, Willard is like more like sort of just like losing his mind,
I think
and
as well, like in Apocalypse Now, it's heralded for being this amazing Vietnam War film about the cruelties of war and how they all went jungle mad and whatever. But then I think what didn't help is obviously there's the slight overhype problem, but we'll put that aside. But I
yeah,
watched a documentary about the Vietnam War.
was that the Vietnam War, the series?
No,
Was it?
it was. I think it was just called the 60s or something. It was about loads of these major events in the 60s. Or it may have been called the 70s. I can't remember. Either way, because they did one on the moon landings as well. It's a really, really good documentary series. I think Tom Hanks produced it, possibly.
All right.
Anyway, it's really, really good. But they had this one on the Vietnam War. And they had all these, startling facts and figures about how many fucking people died and how many like tons of explosives they went through, and it was crazy. But they also had these interviews with these veterans of the war, and of these actual Vietnam soldiers and one of them was telling about how he and his like 10 men were stationed in the middle of a jungle, and they just had to stay there until they were told to come back. And their captain had a cat, and they were so hungry that they mutinied and then ate the cat, and then they started
Oh.
fucking killing each other. And it's like, I was expecting more of that, like jungle madness. And I think because I saw a documentary of that where it was like a real case, and that man actually experienced those things, and you could see it in his eyes, like that really fucked him up for life,
Yeah.
Whereas with Apocalypse Now, I was expecting more madness. Maybe, I don't know. I think because he was so jaded and so not showing emotions, that didn't help.
I think it's also like, because the problem with people talking about Apocalypse Now as a Vietnam War film, because of course it is a Vietnam film, but Vietnam's like a background element.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It
it's
could be
like,
set in any war, couldn't it? To be
yeah,
fair.
well, like, so we'll mention this now actually, because our good friend Ross pointed out that I didn't mention the novel Apocalypse Now is based on. Well, I'm sure I did, but I'll mention it again anyway. So there's this. I think it's 1905-ish. It came out. It's called Heart of Darkness. It's by Joseph Conrad. So in this, the original setting is they're on a boat going through Africa, somewhere in Africa. I can't remember which country, but so it's not during the war or anything.
Right.
So, but that's they took the plot of that, of like these men on a boat going deeper into the jungle and going more and more mad as he looked at this person who's gone AWOL, and just transplanted it into the Vietnam setting. And I think
Okay.
because of that, like even though Kurtz is sort of tied to the US military because he's like a colonel and stuff, he's not
Yeah.
really like the Vietnam War film. The Vietnam War and Colonel Kurtz aren't really related as like as subjects. So the Vietnam War is very much like it's a background element in the film rather than like a direct focus.
Yeah. It's
So
in
I think-
Congo, by the way, the book.
Oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, so it's I think that is a problem, like trying to come to Apocalypse Now as like a Vietnam film in the same way as like maybe Saving Private Ryan as a World War II film. Like I think it's like directly about that conflict and about what's going on there. While it isn't, it's a setting for like a completely unrelated story. And I think that,
Yeah.
and obviously like it still covers, like we were saying, like particularly in the Kilgore sequences. Like there's
Yeah, exactly.
they do talk about stuff from the Vietnam War, and there's a lot of like moments about it, but ultimately it isn't the focus. It's like almost like a B plot, like a side story to the main just retelling of Joseph Conrad's novel. So I think that is it's arguably a flaw, but I mean it comes down to how you approach it and what you. I think there is definitely, like, if you're expecting a proper war film, there is disappointment in there from that.
Yeah. I suppose so. But I mean, the Kilgore scenes are definitely the best, I think, because they are the most memorable, and of the whole film, that's what I remember most vividly.
I do like as well, and it doesn't get talked about that often, but like, so you're talking about the whole like, jungle mad thing, and I think like maybe the closest it gets to that in the film is the you know the bridge scene and like the arsehole of the world.
Yeah.
And it's like there's like just these two men just like camped out on this bridge, and they have to build it every night for it to be taken down the next morning by the Viet
Oh,
Cong
yeah,
and then
yeah,
built
yeah.
up again. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, no one's told us to do it. We're just sitting here rebuilding this bridge. That's all we're doing. And like that, I think there's this real sense of like, yeah, like the jungle madness there.
Yeah, I mean, there's this bit, you know, when they're in the river. I mean, the whole fucking thing's in the river.
Yeah, can you be more specific?
Towards the end, I think it's near that bit where all these soldiers are like jumping into the river, swimming towards the boat, like, "Oh, take me with you, get me out of here," you know.
Oh yeah,
And they're all going sort of jungle mad. And there's the bit where where he, the main guy, Martin Sheen, whatever his name is.
Martin Sheen, I think.
Yeah.
Michael Sheen's someone else.
He goes to try and find who is the commanding officer, and they don't fucking know.
Yeah,
Exactly. They're just doing it. And there's the bit where, you know, those soldiers are trying to shoot. They think there's a sniper in the bushes, and they're just, you know, shooting like endless machine gun fire at this bush to try and get the sniper who they don't even know is there, you know.
Yeah.
And then the fucking guy like just chucks a grenade over there or something instead. But they had that like snippet of jungle madness, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the problem with that is that our main character reacted exactly the same to that as he did to everything else, which is minimal reaction, you know. He was just like, oh, they were like, oh, did they find the CO? And he's like, nope, there is no CO. And that was it. And it's like, just fucking react a bit.
I think that is a valid point about it. And like,
Because, like, if we compare that to Taxi Driver, you know, because he's also a jaded Vietnam War vet, but he's got emotions, and it's a lot easier to sympathize with him and hate him, or, you know, not necessarily hate him, or however you're supposed to feel about him, you know. But you can at least ally yourself with him because he shows emotions. You can understand his inner turmoil. Whereas in Apocalypse Now, he's just so stony-faced all the time that it's like, okay, whatever.
I think like, because I definitely see what they're trying to do with doing like, oh wow, he's seen all this before. He must be really fucked up. It's the Vietnam War. But like, I think a case could definitely be made that it could be stronger if he was like, they were like fresh-faced recruit, like he was as well. Even though it wouldn't make sense for him to do the mission, that's like the sticking point of it. Yeah. But like, if he went in as like a fresh-faced recruit, sort of like Full Metal Jacket did, and like, the thing is going to be like, all war is fun, and then by the, you know, throughout it they get completely like destroyed emotionally, and like by the end of it and then by the end are completely like hardened emotionally and just do not, you know,
but even if they had something where he was like, you know, he saw something there that was the worst thing he's ever seen, and then, you know, he cracked or something. Something just to show that, you know, this is the worst thing he's ever, like, he's never seen something quite as bad as this. But no, he's always emotionless, even up until the final moment where he has that turning point of he is going to kill the Colonel. He's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like, I don't know, it's fine. And that,
I would say I don't love it for its characters. I think that is a fair.
Yeah. But it looks cool.